In January of 2024, I somehow managed to get a job as a 3D graphics engineer. I was pretty excited about this because for the first time, I could stop keeping up with the latest JS framework and, actually solve real problems. I also thought it would be a great time to get a formal introduction to 3D programming. I self-studied 2 semesters of computer graphics taught by Utah Professor Cem Yuksel. All it took was 2.5 notebooks and 6 months of my life. I mean, if I could go back in time, I'd totally do it all over again. Now I know the difference between CPU rasterization, GPU rasterization, software ray tracing, hardware ray tracing, faking ray tracing via rasterization, and ray marching. I learned about an interesting technique called volume rendering. It's used to display medical images like MRIs or CT scans. The algorithm works by ray marching a specific step size, reading from a 3D texture, and calculating opacity values. It's actually pretty straightforward to implement if your graphics API supports 3D textures. WebGL doesn't do that, so there were some interesting challenges there. I eventually figured it out with some help from Will Usher's blog posts. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention that I also started working on a slime mold simulation using compute shaders in TypeScript and WebGPU, but that's a topic for another day. And that brings us to July 2024. After 7 months of grinding graphics, I could finally get back to what I really wanted to do this whole time, writing shaders. And what better way to start than by coding a piano? We start by creating a ray-marched scene and place a rounded box at the center. Let's scale it along the y-axis. We can use domain repetition to repeat this bar along the x-axis. There's a bit too much space between them, so let's move them closer together. We can add in the minor keys using the same techniques we did for the major ones, but this time let's make them a little smaller, change their starting position, and remove the unneeded ones. After that, we can get the normals of the scene using the central differences method. We can easily add diffuse and specular lighting. We can also rotate random keys, making it look as if they're pressed down. Since we're using ray marching, we can also deform the space where the piano is created in weird and interesting ways. Let's twist it around the y-axis and start moving it horizontally. And for the final touch, let's oscillate them vertically based on a sine wave. All that's left to do now is to play this piano, but I don't want to get a copyright strike, so we're gonna whistle something and let's all pretend it's the piano being played instead. I'm sure that was completely off key, but hopefully you heard a little bit of Spirited Away. But yeah, that's the piano shader in a nutshell. I'd love to get some input from you guys on how I can improve this further, and what are some shader techniques I should learn next. Leave a comment down below on anything related to computer graphics. And if you want to stay in touch, hit me up on Twitter at suboptimaleng. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.